Talking a lot about your current reality, or your current map of reality, as I call it. Your current reality. Bill Harris calls it map. And last week we talked about, did we talk about boundaries at all? But we did go through a pretty complete process of where it comes from, right? We started from birth, because we asked the question, who were you before you were born? So that you would recognize that all of this started when you were born, or actually in your mother's womb. Your reality that you have now started to be formed the moment you could begin to start recording in your brain. And this is where you have subconsciously created strategies. You've defined your reality, and you have those definitions and experiences began to create subconsciously strategies where you were going to maintain this reality. Because remember, why do you maintain it? Remember why? Because it's a safe place. It's safety. We said this last week. The reason it's safe is because it's something you already know. And what do we normally fear? The unknown. That's why you subconsciously are staying where you are. It's another reason why you need to become the observer. You're in a subconscious automatic mode when you're in defense of your reality. You're not an observer. You're caught up in the movie. And this is an automatic function that's going on. Now, it sounds negative, but it's actually positive when you step outside that and look at it, because then doesn't that become a positive thing when you change your reality? Then it can maintain the new one automatically. See, that's the whole point of it, is it's not a negative thing except when you're unconscious. If you're living life unconsciously, then you're stuck in that current reality. Does that make sense? And we went through where it came from. 0 to 7, 7 to 14, went through all the ages, the imprinting, and we talked about it. And today, I'm going to talk about it in a little different light, and this is not going to take me very long. But it's something I've wanted to connect, and this morning it made a lot of sense to me. Because, and I'm going to take you through something that Carol heard me do in my last intro, because this helped. I think I'd never done it before in an intro or a seminar, but it was more avenues for you to help to see how much of it is a created illusion. Now, we're all very common, or very aware of the most used example, and I think James uses it, James Ray uses it, a lot of people use it, but that's the horizon. And when you look across the earth and you see the horizon, we've actually defined it, haven't we? But what we've actually defined doesn't even exist. There is no horizon. There looks like there's a horizon. But I'd like you to go find it for me. If you believe there's a horizon, I'd like you to find it. Go ahead and start walking, and see if you arrive at the horizon. You'll never get there, will you? So the point is, that sounds simple, and it's something we're already aware of and seems common, but I want you to think about it, because sometimes the common things that we take for granted have all the truth in it. So, you've defined your reality right by that horizon, because what do you say? The sun comes up every morning. The sun goes down. Yeah, you do this all the time, and as if it's true, don't you? I mean, don't you do this all the time? Now, another example is up and down. Now, I want you to think about up and down. If I started from this point on the earth, and this is kind of a math thing, see if you can envision it though. I mean, it's a geometry thing. But if I start going down and have to go through the center of the earth, if I continue through to the other side, I would have feel like, and my senses would tell me that I went down all the way, didn't I?
Yeah, you didn't turn.
I didn't turn, didn't change directions. But what if somebody from the other end, on the same line, started from the other end and met me at the center, and went with me on the rest of the trip? What direction would they think they were going? They would say they're going up. And I would say, no, we're going down. But in our minds, up and down is a permanent, concrete definition. Unchangeable. We don't think about it in any other way. Now, the reason I'm making this point on simple illustrations, and I hope you get this, you're doing this automatically with everything, whether it's real or not. In fact, I'll really blow your mind, none of them are real. They're all relative. And I'm not just talking about the horizon or the up and down. I'm talking about everything.
All these things we've talked about in the past as concepts.
Right. But, and this is something we talked about last week, we have to get over the subconscious need for absolutes. And again, this makes us feel safe. Right? Doesn't it make you feel safe to know which way's up and which way's down? I feel better now. I know what's up and down. Then all of a sudden somebody changes it on you and you go, oh my gosh. What I thought to always be true about up and down isn't true. And let me ask you this question. If you go up into space, middle of outer space, you tell me where's up and down. In fact, up there, to negotiate and be able to find out where you are and where you're going, you have to use the planets, don't you? The constellations and the... But isn't that, again, everything is according to where you are. Your perspective.
It's just like if you're in Canada, then you go down to Chicago. But if you're in Louisville, you go up to Chicago.
Yeah, but see, that fits the definition, though. That works, though, with your definition.
But it's all relative.
And it is. It's relative, right. But the point you need to see, now this thing about this too, what about north, south, east, west?
Depends on where you are looking at it. You have,
It depends on where you're coming from.
yeah.
Because,
Well, you know what else it depends on? Well, first of all, let's think about this. Didn't somebody initially have to define north? Didn't somebody have to define North Pole? There's no North Pole. There's just a bunch of ice. Somebody defined that bunch of ice as the North Pole. Now here's what really is ironical about all this, though. Again, if I start from here and I start going due north, and I continue to go due north, and I just keep going due north, eventually what I'm going to be doing.
Yes, how?
But I think I'm still going north.
Yeah, you did
If nobody, if I didn't turn around, and even when you look at a flat map, you know what's ironical about all this? That's the thing about it. North and south is a two-dimensional measurement, or two-dimensional way of defining something. And what are we defining? What kind of thing are we defining it with? A sphere. North and south is flat. And what are we applying it to? A ball.
That's never ending.
Something that doesn't have flatness.
So if you continue on the same path always, you're always going to end up in the same place.
Right,
You never break out of that circle.
right. Now the point of this is, I'm trying to get you to see in obvious terms, which is easy for you to see, that all of these are defined concepts, not absolutes. And what you need to realize is nothing in this realm, physical realm, is absolute. Absolutely nothing. It all depends on where you are and where you're going as to what's true. Your perception is your truth. You don't perceive the truth. You don't really see the truth. You see your perception of the truth. And this thinking that you have to go through about this is really important, or you'll never get the difference between what Harris calls the map of reality and the true reality. You'll never see the difference, and you'll never get out into the observer mode. So none of these things, I'm taking you somewhere with this in what I'm going to talk about today, but what's really cool about this is, I don't know about you, but I like the idea that there are no rules.
Yeah, what we think of as the map of reality really has nothing in common with reality.
Right.
It's a map of our concept.
It's a map of our concepts. Right. And the map of your concepts, if you want to take it this far, a step further, takes the pure energy that's absolute, cannot be created or destroyed, and creates the concept with it. See? Because the concepts is in terms of the physical realm. But everything in this, no, there's nothing absolute in this realm. And I talked about this last week, there's only one absolute. What did I say that was the only absolute?
Energy.
Pure energy. That's it. It's changing form. The forms are always changing. They're never absolute. See, but what are we putting our faith in? The forms, the defined concepts. And it's like we need somewhere to anchor.
I think that's exactly the word.
See, we want an anchor to feel safe. See, but the problem is, the moment you do that, you've eliminated all other possibilities.
Well, that's how we did what we did, isn't it? We were looking for something safe because we knew that nothing was absolute
Exactly.
from the beginning.
But here's the thing: and we started out doing this as a baby. See, the first experience that you had that was uncomfortable, or made you fear, or hurt you, you don't want that to happen again. So you defined it. See, and then you developed a strategy that you wanted an absolute way of never having that happen again. And absolutes are our way of trying to avoid what we don't want. Absolute, now I want you to hear this. This is really important. This is a revelation if you can get it. Absolutes are our way of avoiding or going away from what we don't want. See? And isn't that the very thing we're not supposed to be doing? We're supposed to be gravitating. Remember, when we want to create, thinking about what you don't want does what?
Draws us
It
to
creates it. So what we are commonly doing consistently, and I know I'm repeating myself a little bit from last week, but I wanted to introduce this a little bit before I went into what I was going to talk about. We are subconsciously trained to avoid, to be safe.
And by avoiding it, we're creating it 24 hours a day.
And we couldn't avoid it till we defined it.
Yeah.
See, the other thing is, the first thing is you defined it. You defined a concept and you made it real. Then, in your avoidance, you've actually perpetuated its existence. In trying to avoid it, you are perpetuating its existence. And that has been our modality. Remember I said strategy is a modality? That's just the way we were taught to do. See? So, what helps me get out of this realm is realizing, though, there are no absolutes. See, now you know why most people need the absolutes and need the anchor is because they think they are this. And we're trying to find absolutes to perpetuate this concept. Because if this concept disappears and I identify with it, what happens to me? I disappear. So I need to become the observer, realize that everything in my brain. I mean, I got to think about this. This is what Nick Hebert, the physicist, was talking about when he said the brain literally creates and constructs three-dimensional reality. That's what he's talking about. That means, then, it's temporary. There's nothing absolute about it. And the brain will construct it with what it has to construct with. You know, you can only use the tools and materials you have to work with, right? So whatever's in your brain is the only thing you have to construct with. And that's what your current reality is. Okay? Now I want to get into what I was going to talk about. That was an intro. And I'm going to read some of this, and I just want you to listen. That's why I didn't give you the actual notes. And you've heard some of this before. I've used it in the seminar. Why did the people of Columbus's day, and I'm doing this in a different way, why did they never venture out? Why did they never leave where they were?
Well, he thought the world was flat.
Okay, the world was flat, but what was the implication of that?
What you call it?
Fall off the edge. Okay.
Done.
Yeah, right.
And cease to exist.
Exactly.
Right.
Very good. You're all getting it. Their perception saw an edge, which implied the end, in quotes, of something. Or you could say a boundary. And if there's an edge, what could happen? If you go too far, you could fall off. You know, your life could end. Or I'm going to tie this to something else. Wasn't that their current reality? Wasn't it? What did that boundary produce in them? Fear. And you know what the real boundary is? It's not what you're seeing.
What you don't see.
Fear. Fear is the boundary. See, the illusion, what made them, what really kept them from going there? Fear.